Queen of Rabbites is playing Ocarina of Time and talking to herself.
They keep telling me I've got to get away from you. I know this isn't right. Nothing that feels this good can be good for me. But if this is wrong, I don't want to be right. It's just too perfect. The story, standard but not exactly traditional. The soundtrack, exquisite, pixelated and perfect. The target lock system and that Metacritic score. Oh yeah, the total package. They don't know what I need. I don't need a break from you, that's for sure.
Queen of Rabbites pauses the game as she realizes she's talking to herself. She rushes to a mirror and looks at her reflection. She scrunches her forehead and frowns.
I'm not wrong. I don't care what anyone says, especially not that fool Pelvic Gaming.
She reaches up and flips her hair off her forehead in an affected manner. Now she's imitating someone when she speaks.
In the final analysis, it's obvious to anyone that, Majora's Mask is superior in every way. And cause Ocarina of Time is just not risky enough, I mean, haven't we had enough of the tried and true Zelda storylines? In Majora's Mask, you can go back and play any dungeon as many times as you want. This means that the cost-benefit ratio is Am I boring you like I bore everyone else? And that thing with the moon and the 24 masks, and the slippery nature of time, that means it's all better than Ocarina of Time, right? Well, even though I'm obviously wrong, I'm gonna keep talking anyway because...
Queen of Rabbites stops and winks at herself in the mirror.
Oh my god, I'm so adorable when I'm angry. In fact, why don't I get out my ocarina and play a little tune?
Queen of Rabbites puts her hands in a position as if she's about to play an imaginary ocarina. She closes her eyes and puffs with her lips in a kissing position.
Na 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 hey hey na 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 hey hey na 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 na.
Is that supposed to be me?
How'd you get in here?
I put on a mask and snuck in. You know, Majora style. Nice piping.
You like it?
No, but you know what's more interesting than your invisible ocarina and inaudible music? Your hypocrisy. I thought you told me you quit playing for a while. You said you needed a break from your precious Ocarina of Time.
Queen of Rabbites looks at the paused game and takes a step towards the TV. Pelvic steps in front of her. Queen of Rabbites wrings her hands and bounces on the balls of her feet.
I wouldn't expect you to like it since your brain is mush from always playing that acid trip non-canonical to the Zelda storyline freakout that is Majora's Mask.
Pelvic holds her ground and refuses to move.
You'd be more interesting on an acid trip. We've got to get you on something therapeutic. We'd call you Princess Ganja and put a mask on you.
And you think I have problems?
At least I'm not the one talking to myself. Something on your mind?
Pelvic gestures to a couch. Queen of Rabbites lies down and places a hand over her forehead like it's suddenly a psychologist's office.
You might be right. I just can't stop playing it. It's like it was made for me. This time they just got it all right. Ganon, the length of the game, the graphics, the endless discussions you can have with other civilized people about the nuances of the narrative. Many fans consider Ocarina of Time to be one of the best games in the Legend of Zelda series. But is that just nostalgia since it was the first 3D Legend of Zelda game? Or does Ocarina of Time truly deserve the praise it gets? Let's start by traveling a bit further back, to A Link to the Past. A Link to the Past introduced many themes and gameplay mechanics that became staples for the series, such as the Master Sword, parallel worlds, and the general gameplay loop of exploring dungeons and the overworld to find new tools and items that let you progress further further, gradually opening up more and more of the game's map as you play. Ocarina of Time successfully transferred these concepts and mechanics to a 3D game, while innovating the combat and gameplay systems to work in a 3D world. It created the template subsequent 3D Legend of Zelda games would follow for years to come. More importantly than that, Ocarina of Time took these gameplay ideas and implemented them well. The dungeons have excellent designs, both from a practical perspective, giving the player clear objectives and clever puzzles to solve, and from an aesthetic perspective. Places like the Forest Temple, the bottom of the well, and yes, even the dreaded Water Temple are memorable enough to stand out in players' memories long after the end of the game. It also implemented time travel in an easy-to-understand way. Players can travel back and forth between the era when Link is a child and the era when he's an adult, solving puzzles due to both the passage of time and Link having different capabilities at each point in his life. Not only is this a wonderful narrative moment, starting out as a child and then moving to the future to play as your adult self, but it's also perfectly integrated with the gameplay. Now, fans who think Ocarina of Time's praise is undeserved often name its successor, Majora's Mask, as the better game. Yet, the main thing that makes the gameplay of Majora's Mask stand apart is its take on time travel, a repetitive cycle that forces players to repeat events again and again. Does it add tension not found in Ocarina of Time? Yes. It also adds tedium not found in Ocarina of Time. While this does let you repeat events and boss fights without starting a new game, it breaks the usual sense of progression Legend of Zelda games have. In my opinion, the only reason Majora's Mask is placed ahead of Ocarina of Time is because it's seen as dark. Every Legend of Zelda game has dark themes. However, return to Ocarina of Time and consider the lore behind the Shadow Temple. Just because Majora's Mask makes its darkness more overt doesn't make it a better game. More importantly, Ocarina of Time truly captures the Legend of Zelda experience. Majora's Mask is very different with its time loop, the lack of Zelda herself, and a stronger emphasis on making small amounts of progress at a time. It could have been a different IP entirely. Story-wise, the beginning is tied to its predecessor, but only to establish Link's motivations and the parallel world. In contrast, Ocarina of Time feels like a Legend of Zelda game through and through. Ocarina of Time stands out for many reasons. From its dungeon design to its themes, the Legend of Zelda series followed its lead for a reason, and far from being a relic of its time, Ocarina of Time still deserves to be praised to this day. So if I'm wrong then?
I know, you don't want to be right, sin is so good, it's delicious and all that, but look, obsession never leads anywhere good.
Unless you're obsessed with Majora's Mask. I'm guessing that's what you mean. Give me a break.
We all have different tastes.
Right, but obsession isn't a matter of taste.
I guess, but we do have different tastes. Yours is bad and mine is impeccable. I gotta say, it doesn't get any better than Link trying to keep the moon from crashing into Termina, so the world doesn't end. The fun use of time travel, and while we're at it, that game was so ambitious in its scope that they had to use a memory expansion pack just to get the experience. And give me a break. As bad guys go, Ganon had nothing on the creepy Skull Kid. Or should I say, Majora's Mask. A little history of Majora's Mask and I. This was my second ever Legend of Zelda game, Ocarina of Time being my first. I was always kind of a weird kid, finding the unusual and darker aspects of life more fascinating, and Majora's Mask is the first game that really catered to that darker, twisted side of the younger me. It dealt with impending doom, what people would do in their final days, and inevitable death. Majora's Mask had an impressive development, under a year using many of the assets of Ocarina of Time, and introduced fun side quests that landed you Mask and helped connect you with the world. As an adult, I've played a lot more Zelda games, and Majora's Mask is one of the few games that stray away from the collect the Triforce, defeat Ganon, save the princess formula, and I believe that's where Zelda shines brightest. It takes that next level of narrative creativity to really pull Link and the player into a new atmosphere. I mean, what would move you more, saving a princess with all the time in the world, or seeing the live countdown till the end of the world, with this massive, monstrous moon creeping closer to a town filled with people you've connected with? It brings a whole new meaning of staring death in the face. Majora's Mask's worth really comes through with how it handles the centerpiece theme, death. Each transformation math representing someone's death. a son, a hero, a lover even. And what really drives this point home is each area houses one of the stages of grief. The townsfolk are in complete denial that the moon will fall, and continue preparing for the festival. In the Deku Palace, the king is angry that his daughter's missing, and believes the monkey kidnapped her. A Goron, who is a fallen hero, bargaining with you, begging you to restore him to flesh and bone. Lulu, representing sadness, gazing into the Great Bay in silence for her missing children. And finally, Ikana Canyon, representing acceptance of their people's death. Not many games handle death in a unique and intimate way like Majora's Mask did, and that's why it will forever be one of the greats, and certainly better than Ocarina of Time. And you know what? I like it even more than Breath of the Wild. Fight me. Wait, what was your question?
Queen of Rabbites giggles at the stream of consciousness Pelvic is babbling.
Maybe you need a break too. You sound like that owl that never shuts up. Get yourself right.
Pelvic opens her mouth to retort, then brushes her hair off her face and takes a deep breath.
Okay, scoot over.
They sit shoulder to shoulder, not speaking.
I don't feel obsessed anymore. Do you?
No.
And maybe there's room for 2 perfect games, right?
I wouldn't go that far. Ocarina is still...
And anyways, it's not like you have Majora's Mask here.
No, definitely not. I've definitely never had that game here.
Queen of Rabbites' eyes betray her, looking back to her shelf of games. They're silent for a few moments, then they sit up at the same time and rush towards the game shelf, tripping over each other in their hurry to get there first.
Hey y'all, it's your girl, Lady Pelvic with Pelvic Gaming. If you guys agree that Majora's Mask is better than Ocarina of Time and every Legend of Zelda game out there, because it is, please consider subscribing to me. If you love JRPGs, platforming, and a little bit of indie, definitely check out my channel. And thank you, Queen, for hosting me.